evening, everybody, and welcome to our Monday evening show. I hope this one finds you all well, wherever you are. We're posting this out across all the platforms. So we're on the anti-free speech platforms such as YouTube, hello YouTube, and Facebook, and we're Gettr, Twitter, Rumble, etc. So anyway, wherever you are, thanks very much for being with us. We've got an incredibly special guest tonight. Which I've rescued him from Clarkson's farm, I think, based on the photograph that I was sent off him. But he can tell us more about that and his new venture with Jeremy Clarkson. So we're going to talk about that. There are lots of, honestly, so much happens at the moment in politics. There's no shortage of material. There's certain things I want to go through tonight, though. Things that we don't have time to talk about, for example, has Keir Starmer executed another U-turn today? I don't know. He kind of he executes them with great regularity. So who can tell? But no, we're going to start off with the big events of the past 48 hours, I suppose, 48, 72 hours. And to help discuss them with me and other matters is my good friend, Mr. Peter McIlvenna. Peter, welcome.
Hey, I'm live with you. Great to be with you.
It's strange, yeah, because I don't know why we haven't done this before. Actually, we do it the other way around on yours, but you should do it. We do it on mine as well. So you're very welcome, Peter, and it's good to see you. I suppose first question is: have you survived the heat? What is it? The heat dome, the heat bloom? Are you still still okay? Yeah.
I could be melting, but we'll see. I got a fan blowing. I bought a fan. I mean, I've never bought a fan in my life, so I went and hunted out a fan for about 30 quid. So that's blowing warm air around me. So yes, I'm all better for it.
Well, here in the temperate climate that is Northern Ireland, it's been raining outside. I had a body warmer on earlier, so we're not too bad. We're probably going to survive this one okay. But I did see the heat there. Wimbledon looked very nice in the sunshine, it has to be said. So, what we need is more of this heat, Peter, actually. We need more heat.
I think that's why they have all the defibrillators around, because of the heat, is it?
I'm not sure about that one. Although, isn't it amazing? Everywhere you go, I keep remarking on it to my wife, everywhere we are, there's a defib nearly everywhere. Yep. And if only we could work out, I wonder, bearing in mind we're on YouTube, I wonder what must be causing that. Probably the heat. I suspect global warming, and more than likely Putin as well, Peter, as the primary cause of people having all kinds of heart attacks and cardiac incidents. Probably.
Everything is Putin's fault. Everything, David. So I would say it is Putin.
I think so. Yeah. Did you see the genuine story from last week that was it one of the government ministries was saying that they reckon Putin was behind the incredible cross channel.
I know.
Did you see that?
Whenever they come over, I think those all look like Putin. Those guys that are all getting their pictures, they all look like Putin doubles, all of them.
Yeah. Probably all the way from Russia. I would say, looking at their complexions, they look to me completely Russian. I see we've got our good friend Ofcom Watch. A very warm welcome to you as well, my friend. Well, listen, let's start off. There's a lot to get through, and we don't have that much time. So Glastonbury, as we were talking before, I don't think you were able to get there this year. So you missed, obviously. You missed Rod Stewart. Did you see Rod Stewart was on stage? I think he's about 104 now, but apparently his performance was okay. I didn't watch any of it, by the way. Did you watch any of it?
It was okay. I think I'm not white enough or rich enough or middle class enough. I don't know which box I don't tick. Obviously not the diversity box, but no, I saw Rod, and of course, when you have a band that actually plays all its old hits and people can enjoy it, as opposed to calling for people to be murdered, it's kind of like the good old days where you just have a band and it's about music and about fun and about engagement. And that's kind of how it used to be like, without calling for people to be killed. So it was a bonus.
That's the old days. Although what I was really most impressed with was, did you see the fence that they'd put all the way around. I mean, it's like something out of a German concentration camp. Did you see it?
Your post had like 1.2 million views or something. I was really jealous of that post you put up. Where Glastonbury, where irony comes to die.
But it was where irony goes to that. I just thought to myself, like literally, Peter, they stuck that poster thing up. I'm sure most people have seen it on a fence, literally on a fence. But I think the main point is that you worked out that you're not really middle class enough, and I'm certainly not, to go to Glasgow, because I mean the ticket prices are eye-watering. I think it's about 400 quidders. It's really expensive to get in there, and all the little Tarquins and Fifis and the rest of them who were there demonstrating their, well, I would say their hatred of music, because some of those bands were not musical, and then the content. So which gets us to the two bands that obviously garnered a lot of the media focus was Kneecap and someone I'd never heard of up until this point, Bob Vylan. Were you a big Bob Vylan fan before this?
I was confused, and I thought Bob Dylan had come back, but no, it was Bob Vylan. That really confused me.
Yeah,
and I thought Kneecap. You said you mentioned them, and then you mentioned Bob Vylan as someone you hadn't known. So I assume Kneecap are the usual band that you go and actually enjoy on a Friday evening.
Well, they're right up my street. A bunch of louts from West Belfast who think it's clever to name their band after a method of torture that, as you know, the IRA used to enforce their rule of fear. They kneecap people. And kneecapping is, as I'm sure people can understand watching this, it's no joke. You know, a bullet in your knee probably cripples you for life if it doesn't kill you. It's a very serious thing. But they think it's a laugh, it's a hoot. And they put balaclava on, or tricolor balaclavas on, and they pose with Jerry Adams, who's definitely never been in the IRA. And this is all a laugh, you know. And yeah, you're melting there, Peter.
I am. I'm like an ice cream.
Kneecap are putting fear into you. That's what it is. You're scared of their Irish rap. Imagine Irish rap, by the way. That's an oxymoron. Irish rap.
I mean, I haven't actually listened to them, so please forgive me, viewers of David Vance's show, for admitting I haven't. I've seen with a tricolor balaclava. I should that I've never seen one of those before. It must be a new item that people are wearing these days, but I've never noticed that. Maybe where you are, David, it's more usual going out shopping.
Yes,
I was going to say shopping in Westfield Abbey Centre or somewhere. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's the latest thing. I've missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the balaclavas were very popular back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. They were very popular then. And you know, the next of kin of those who were murdered by the sort of scum that wore them probably appreciate the visual image. But anyway, Kneecap, this is the bit that got me. So the Mo Chara, I think that's what he called himself. His real name is it Liam O'Neill or something like that? But he had to make it, he had to make it so Irish, and so he was the guy who was filmed on stage at another festival called Coachella, I think, basically pledging support for Hezbollah, and also in a video that's emerged, Hamas. And what did you think of the fact, Peter, that he was reported to that, because there was clear video evidence of it? And yesterday, the police announced that they weren't going to be taking charges any further. What did you think of that?
So what I think is Lucy Connolly. That's what I think. If you've got someone in jail for 2.5 years for posting a tweet and ending it, was it... as much was the phrase "as much as I care" or "as if I care"?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a caveat. It was
So there's a caveat, so you know the person is not being serious. But then when you call for people to be attacked or beaten up or murdered, there's no caveat. It's actually celebrating with the people there, and how as a society, obviously the Conservative front bench have been quiet because they don't really know what they think yet, and Kemi hasn't really led them into battle. The obviously the front bench on the Labour side probably would have been chanting along, would love it. So they fit in very much to Kneecaps thinking or of Bob Villan's thinking. So it's worrying whenever politicians are either trapped by fear or trapped by that level of wanting to do evil on other people. And of course, if a reform probably have 5 different opinions between 5 MPs. So who knows what they think.
Oh, spicy. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. We'll get to that in a moment. The other thing was Bob. I can't leave Bob Villan just yet, because Bob Villan was someone I would imagine most of humanity has never heard of, and most humanity never wants to hear of again. He was the one who was leading the chant "Death, death to the IDF," and I mean, people laugh at it, but it's kind of serious. The IDF exists to protect Jewish people from terrorist attack. So if you kill the IDF, follow his logic. What then happens to the Jewish people who have no one to protect them? What did he really mean, Peter?
See, I find this an interesting one, because I think, and the BBC supposedly had a 30-second delay on the feed. That's what I've read. Maybe it can be true. So they purposely showed that whenever they had someone on calling for death to people, they didn't say, "Oh, that's not good. Maybe we should do something with the feed." No, they just watched it and reveled in. So all of the BBC, the back office staff, they thought that was absolutely normal. That's the first concern. But the second thing is, it's death to the IDF as an army, as opposed to Israeli citizens. So I'm thinking in terms of a free speech aspect, are you calling for attacks on individuals or not? And I think people can express hatred for a country, can express hatred for ideology, can express hatred for religion, whatever they want. Whenever hatred towards an individual spills over into calling for violence, which this seems to be right on the line, but is it violence against a group? I mean, what actually the British government should do is stick them on a private jet, fly them into the middle of Gaza and say, "Go for it." I'd encourage you, because we'll see who comes off better. I mean, this is a great video game. So let's see who comes off better. And I assume they'll come back in a coffin. So I would challenge them. Let's go for it. Let's see where you are, not in Glastonbury, but in the middle of a war zone. But do I think I saw their visa being cancelled to the States.
Yeah.
Really? Should you call, if someone wants to go to war against the IDF, we've had people going to war against Putin. That was absolutely acceptable. I'm sure they went because they wanted to kill Russian soldiers. That's why they went into battle. And that seemingly was lauded by the media. So it's an interesting, someone, myself, who's 100% pro-Israel, who calls himself a Christian Zionist. And yet, what level of free speech and where does it spill over? And that's right on the line. And I've been interested, those who've jumped on and said, "Oh, they need to be punished. They need to be this or that." Well, I think it's the BBC really questioning to be asked on it for why you allowed that to actually be pushed forward as a viewpoint.
Those are very good points, actually. Yeah. I think the BBC does have a 30-minute. Certainly during my time when I used to be on there was a 30-minute delay.
30 second.
30 seconds. Yeah, I know my time was 30 minutes. And back in the old days, we didn't have the modern technology you guys have, But
that was just the VCR recording it. Come on.
Well, anyway, it's certainly generated a huge amount of headlines, and I noticed that the North American tour, certainly the US part of it with Bob Villan, has been cancelled. So we'll see where that one goes. But then moving on from matters musical to matters political. Well, it's been a big day. I mean, we didn't know this when we were planning to do this tonight, but this morning we saw political events are like buses. Sometimes nothing happens and then two come along at once. And today, Peter, we had two things. So Ben Habib launched his Advance UK party. and Rupert Lowe launched his movement as well, which I think is called
Restore Britain.
Restore GB, I think it's called.
Restore Britain, yes. And Northern Ireland is there as well in the little logo.
Yes. So, we were actually. So, what did you think of this in terms of, what do you think, first of all, of the idea? What do you think of the timing of both of the announcements on the same day? And where do you think this leads?
Well, how long do we have? Not
until
midnight. So, it's, in one ways, it's positive that there are individuals and entities that are receiving airtime and wanting to speak common sense. That's a good thing. Ben Habib is a very sensible guy. I've had him on. You've had him on. I've met him, sat and spoken to him at length, and is a principled person and really wants the best for Britain and would fit into majority of our values in terms of restoring pride to the nation once again.
Yeah.
Concerned of the impact of the rise of Islam and many other ideologies that seek to destroy who we are as British citizens. Rupert Lowe, exactly the same. And it's been interesting seeing him go, obviously, head-to-head with Reform. And when Reform backed out and pulled away from remigration or gangs, Rupert said, well, I've said I'll do it, therefore I will do it. And you've got absolute integrity, no pun on Ben Habib's old party now. Absolute party. So you've got, in one ways, it's positive. In another way, I can imagine Reform just falling over themselves. And I'll disagree with Dan Wooden a little bit on this, because he said, this will show Reform that actually there are groups on the right that will challenge them. No, it will show to Reform that no one can get their act together. I think that's what it will show. So that's what I think in a nutshell. What are your thoughts? It's interesting watching the two X posts, Twitter handles, to see who lead. This is just like a race. So you got Restore Britain, or 39,000 followers. You've got Advance UK, or 9,900. So it's behind, but maybe it's the tortoise that will win the race.
It's a horse race, isn't it? It's a horse race. Yeah.
It is. So anything you disagree with there, David, or what are your thoughts on it?
No, as always, Peter, we see things very similar. I mean, what I think is, I really like the name Advance UK, as I pointed out, because my name is in the middle of it. So that's my in-depth political analysis. Any party with my name in it, good thing.
David, it took me a while to get your post. It really did. I looked at it. I was a little bit confused.
Right in there.
Sorry for being slow.
Yeah, and the second thing is, just to say to a few people watching, that Ben Habib joins me tomorrow night at 7:00 for half an hour to have a bit of a chat through it as well. So, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. You've got Ben and Rupert, both formidable characters, both very similar in many ways. I mean, I think they're both principled. I think they obviously feel that, I mean, they both are people who have been shafted by Reform, by Nigel Farage. It's one of the things they share in common anyway. And when you listen to them, and I'm sure it'll be the same tomorrow night with Ben, I mean, there's nothing that's said that is insensible. But question is, and I didn't hear Dan Wooten, but do you think this is kind of conquer and divide from a Reform point of view? Instead of these forces coming together, they're split, and by definition, that's not a good thing? Or do you think that, for example, Rupert said he's starting this as a movement, but it could become a party? Didn't say what party. I don't know.
So Rupert Lowe had to do something. Either he remain as an independent and fight, which he is doing on a range of issues, especially immigration, the grooming gangs, and halal. I saw it put out, ban the burqa today. There are so many issues that he's been bold on and not shying away. And I respect that, and we're missing that in British
Yeah.
politics. So he had to do something. And Andrew Bridgen, whenever he was thrown out of the Tory party, he joined Reclaim, Lawrence Fox, which is another entity in all this conversation.
Yeah.
And then he left and was an independent. So Rupert had to do something. Either he announced he was staying as an independent, which doesn't really fit with British politics, or he had to start something. And the assumption was, for a lot of us from the outside looking in, because I haven't been privy to the inside conversations, because I'm done with party politics until something happens after UKIP. So I've been waiting on the sidelines, politically homeless. And then we're expecting Rupert Lowe, Ben Habib, great speaker, again, principled. We're expecting maybe him, those two, Howard Cox, Andrew Bridgen, a lot of the very sane individuals in politics that are no longer welcomed by Nigel Farage, no longer welcome the Conservative Party, speak sense. And then I read the press statements, and Ben, I read his first, and 2 pages, and I'm looking for the team that's involved. There's no one, no other name. Now, I haven't gone through all of Rupert's to see if it's the same, but you need a team. You do a press conference. I mean, I was campaign manager for UKIP 6 months. We'd organize press conferences. We'd tell the press, we'd get them along. We'd do an event. And I'm perplexed why neither of them have done that. Maybe one has been rushed out by the other. I don't know, because we're waiting for months, and then suddenly they both come along at about 7 or 8 a.m. this morning. And we've got 2 parties. So I don't know whether it was one pushed the other quickly. The difference between a movement, and I'll point out that Ben's party, Ben had GB PAC that he was part of. Then he joined the Integrity Party, which is a political party, but it's not a political party because it's not registered with the Electoral Commission, so it can't stand for any elections. And then a third entity, Advance UK, that seems to have been Integrity Party renamed, but not registered. This will be a 9-month process. It'll be a fight with the Electoral Commission whether it gets registered. Surely, if I was doing this, I would have registered a name. And I was looking at all different names. I didn't register them, but one of them would be I nominate David Vance as leader. That would be because the last thing I would want to be is leading a political party. And yet you've got this clamor to lead a political party. Why would you want to do anything like that? Surely you want to have a team. So I am utterly flummoxed at what has happened and why they haven't joined up. Maybe Ben will shine some light on that tomorrow, but that doesn't take away from these individuals as being really positive for common sense conversation. And actually, I'm excited about Rupert is there for another 4 years. Ben is not elected, has been elected as an MEP. So I'm scratching my head thinking. So I'm looking forward to watching with Ben tomorrow, and I'll ask Ben on. I've had Ben on twice, so I'll ask him on, and I'll ask Rupert to come on and talk as well. So because they're both very similar, they're both being pro. He who cannot be named. Sorry, on YouTube, I never know. But they understand the culture clash that we face, especially with Islam. And they don't hold back. Maybe Rupert is more bold. Ben maybe is a little bit more holds back and ponders before. So I'm really confused.
A lot of points to unpack there. One of the ones which I think is really important that you said is that the thing that does seem to me to be a wee bit missing is where is the team? Where is the central group of people, advisors? Where is that? And I'll ask Ben when I'm talking to him tomorrow night. But I like you. I'm not sure how that stacks up with Rupert. I do think there is actually some people. I do think that might be so. Yeah, it's a bit strange. If I was starting a political party, the first thing I would do is I'd bring together as many good people as I possibly could and have them all set up all in advance. Just it's good business practice. You get your ducks lined up, and there's an element of this that seems were the ducks lined up, or did they just say, right, we've got to go before the 1st of July? I find it I find it puzzling. I honestly do. But I totally agree with you. Rupert and Ben, like whenever I did the thing with Ben, you were at it too, Peter, back in January. Like he's a very eloquent speaker. I also agree Rupert's probably a wee bit bolder. So Rupert's he's entertaining in some of the things that he posts, and he has the huge advantage of being in Westminster. You can't underestimate the Westminster factor, and that's something that Ben doesn't have. So I don't know. I'm seeing being asked here by Jet: is it just attention seeking? I don't know, Chad. The truth of the matter, Peter, I don't think so. I think both the guys are very principled. I do think that. And I think also both of them feel that reform is a busted flush. I do think that under Nigel. So how it all shakes down, and the truth is we don't know. We'll have to wait to see how this one all, will there be legs on the Advance UK? Or I mean, again, if you recall, when Ben was with us back in January, he talked about the British Pack, which was this idea of people bringing together ideas. Well, is that not exactly what Rupert sort of launched today with his Restore? And also,
No, I again, if we were launching, if we had the David Vance Democratic Conservative Progressive Unionist Party, and if we were launching that, then we would have a press conference, and you would speak as the new leader. I could be your chairman. Then you could have a range of people speaking, and it would be an event. You would put it out, and it would launch. To me, a press release to launch a party that you're going to change the country and win the election in 2029, it doesn't seem to fit. And I've seen people I've seen some of the chat groups I'm on, and people saying, well, I'm now leaving UKIP and I'm joining Advance UK or Restore Britain. And I'm thinking, what, seriously, you're a member of UKIP still? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, there are some. There actually are. There are a few of those hardened souls. I wanted to set up a party called Transform UK on the basis that everyone who's a member is a transformer, and I thought that'll work well. Transformers, call myself Optimus Prime, but but you're right on the serious point. That the way you outlined it is exactly the way I've done it. I've been involved in 2 political parties here in Northern Ireland, and that's what you just said is basically what we done. And in both cases, there were strong leaders, Robert McCartney QC, Jim Allister, but there were other people. It wasn't just the one person, and so I find this is I find it curious, gotta say, and
Dave, it's the problem we have in the UK. You've got the Conservative Party; they got Kemi in. Then people, first of all, you'd Rishi Sunak had lost, and the party wouldn't accept Liz Truss. And Rishi Sunak was the person they wanted, so then they got him in. Then you get Kemi in, but they think actually Jenrick's, he's the one. So there's a whole group campaigning for Jenrick to come in, and it seems as though. And then you look at reform, and you think, well, if Nigel can't keep 6 MPs together or 5 MPs, how is he going to have 300 or 350 as a majority? Everyone wants to be the leader. And that was the problem with UKIP. It was such characters, but character around a single vision, which was escape from the European Union. That was easy. Now this is a populist party with a range of issues. And where do you come down on that? And if you look at even the other week, you had 2 votes. You had the abortion decriminalization vote, and you had the assisted suicide vote. And I looked and I actually saw that Kemi Badenoch, for instance, voted for, my understanding is, for the assisted suicide. So she went for that, but was against the abortion. I'm thinking, if the Conservative Party is not about conserving what we have, then what's the point? And everyone wants to be leader. And Reform have got now an 18-year-old leading a council. I mean, where have we gone when an 18-year-old can actually lead a political grouping?
I also think the Reform vote on those two on the reform members in terms of how they voted. I think 40% of them. Okay, I know there's only 5 of them, but 40% of them voted in favour of the was it assisted killing, assisted murder. And similarly on the abortion thing, I don't think Nigel Farage even voted on that. So yeah, it's problematical. It is very problematical, you know. And I also think that, and we don't have time to talk about it tonight, we can do it another night, but like I've got a theory that come next, not this year, but next summer, we're going to see massive political movement, because the Welsh and the Scottish Assembly elections will happen, and the council elections, and the Tories are going to be decimated. So bye-bye Kemi, and Stormer's going to be in bother, I think. And that has implications, because Jeremy Corbyn, interestingly, was at Glasgow as well. He was there. Wonder what Jeremy's got scheming in the background. So could there be a new, you know, Labour 2.0 coming from Corbyn? And then you have reform. And then you have all this other stuff. So I suppose in the plus, Peter, it gives us lots of stuff to talk about. It's not boring. Like, no one can say this is boring. But talking about it, which brings us to the main theme, really, of what I want to chat to you about. And that is, like, obviously, you know, we're on multiple platforms live now where we can say within reason what we want, within reason. Some platforms we can definitely say within reason. And obviously one of those, I think, is X, but I'm not 100% sure that it's X, because sometimes the algorithm seems to go for you if you say certain things. I don't know if you've noticed this, but trust me, it does. And then the other one is Gettr. And this is what I really want to chat to you about, because Gettr it's such an interesting platform for me, because I've had built up an audience there when I was kicked off Twitter. And it's really loyal, and it's really stuck with me. And, you know, Jed, my producer, will tell you that the stuff that we do, the Gettr audience is so, they're more loyal than the X audience. And there's never any real hassle. And I don't get the impression of throttling and stuff. And I know you've been trying to do a bit of work with Gettr. So do you want to tell us let's talk of where is Gettr in this point, mid 2025?
Well, I'll tell you a story first, David. The story was I got pulled into actually working with Gettr back beginning of 2022. And Jason Miller was the CEO. Yeah. And he was, I mean, he was a fantastic guy, and I've kept in contact with him. Yeah. He introduced me to Steve Bannon and twice, and then I built up that friendship. He got me to meet President Trump, and a picture with President Trump last March time. But he's been and even when he finished Gettr, all the stuff with Trump was after he finished Gettr. So I just want to, because again, you meet a lot of people, you engage a lot of people, and someone like Jason Miller, who now is like Trump's roving ambassador all around the world, could do whatever he wants as someone without portfolio. And he's someone who's really loyal and actually wants to make connections for you. And when I finished with Gettr, he didn't need to do anything else with me. But I remember when I went to see him February last year, I was over in Virginia, and we had a 2-hour lunch together. He didn't have to. In the middle of that, there were a couple of calls he took. One was from the president, one was from Steve Bannon. But apart from that, we had 2 hours together. And a lot of credit to people like that, because sometimes in the media space, just like the political space, people are looking at publicity. I think that the term sometimes which creeps up and wouldn't connect with anyone that we have any connection with, but narcissism sometimes is a term that rears its head. But that was I was with him for a year, finished up the end of 2022, and then I reached out to them a couple of months ago, and got to chat to the person who's the CTO, Roy Gu, and we jumped on a Zoom call. Never met him, and he started off by saying, "You're Warren, of course I know. You're on with Steve. Yeah, okay, let's have a chat." So that was a nice opening. And where Gettr are at the moment, and we're quite similar in terms of how we've used different platforms. Some platforms have come and gone. Some have come and then they got pulled from the App Store. Some have gone bankrupt and then started and then gone bust again and then restarted. Some have changed owners. And actually, the only one I think that the only one actually that's been on everything and continued is Gettr. It hasn't been pulled off app stores. It's always been there, hasn't changed ownership. And that's why you've used it from really early on, as have I, to post on, to stream on. And it does what it says on the tin. You never have to look and say, oh, Getter's not working again. This isn't working. That no, it just kind of works. It does it. And that's why we have always used whatever happens with X. Actually, Gettr doesn't seem to have that restriction, doesn't have the censorship, doesn't have the throttling, doesn't punish you. Like when you put a post up and if the link is external, you don't get downgraded by the algorithms. It doesn't have anything like that. So it works. And for me, actually, it's my go-to after X. I post on X, I then post on Gettr, and then I'll post on Telegram or on Parler or on Insta and all the others. But yeah, Gettr seems to be one that doesn't have that restriction, and that's why I think it's great. And you're right, David, about the engagement. I also find that, and I've talked to quite a number of people, and we've looked at posts. We put posts up and then analyze them across the different platforms, and we find that Gettr actually has probably some of the best engagement. Not sure exactly why that is, but it seems to have absolutely great engagement. And of course, it's where Steve Bannon goes. It's where he posts his content and War Room streams there. And he's actually not allowed on X. He's probably one of the few people that still are not allowed on X.
What is he still banned from X?
He's still banned, yeah. He's still bad. And I think it's because of 6th of January, stuff that he said around the 6th of January, I think it was around there. And he's still off. And of course, he's gone kind of scorched earth policy with Musk. So I guess he's not going to be getting on any time this week, probably.
Yeah, he's burnt that bridge, hasn't he? He's burnt that bridge. But I mean, I remember back in 2022 with you and Gettr in London when there was there was a couple of social events put on, and that made me think that Gettr is not just an American-centric platform. It had a level of investment here in the UK, and there was that was a great night we had in down at Westminster, and I have sort of felt that with Gettr, that it is my number 2 as well. But here's a product question for you. Another platform that I had built up a decent audience on, which was at about 30,000 over in Gab. But now Gab, along with, is it Odyssey? Is it Odyssey?
I haven't used Odyssey
for BitChute.
Yeah.
BitChute and Gab have pulled the plug here on the UK because of the cancer that is Ofcom, bullying, threatening with all kinds of fines. Do you think that will be an issue for Gettr? What's the story with Gettr and Ofcom and this bullying tactic that they've used with Gab?
I mean, when you look into BitChute and Gab, their reason for restricting UK users, and of course you can use a VPN like we're in China or something, no difference really to China or the UK in terms of censorship, really.
No, not really. No, China's probably a bit easier going on it. Yeah.
It's true. China's probably easier going.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether the Conservative Party got their tips from the CCP, probably, because everything that we now have came from the Conservative Party, including the online safety bill, was actually prepped and produced by the Conservative Party. All the hate speech legislation, of that, illegal to pray outside an abortion clinic, all of this stuff comes from the so-called Conservative Party. But I digress. I think my understanding of BitChute and Gab, they had so many applications for user data from Ofcom, which is the regulatory body, the communications regulatory body. And I've forgotten the name of the US, so sorry for any US viewers. I had one of your commissioners on talking about it. I've completely forgotten. But anyway, they were overwhelmed by data, and obviously they legally, I guess, they had to respond. And I guess if you didn't respond, then you'd be punished. So they decided it wasn't worth it. They made an assessment that actually this is too difficult. We are fighting a losing battle, and they both blocked. So those two are now no longer available, and it's just going to get worse. That's just the beginning. So I don't know where the others fit, and I don't know why Gab. Maybe because Gab are seen as, I don't know, some Jew hatred side. I mean, the stuff you see on Gab, you think, I mean, you look at some of the feeds and you think, I don't actually, free speech, yes, but that doesn't mean I feel comfortable with what you say because I disagree so vehemently. So maybe they were targeted for that. Maybe BitChute were doing really well and were one of the only, I mean, it was like the British equivalent of Rumble, maybe, I guess. Like,
but because it was British based. That's the thing.
Based. Exactly.
So Gab 100% America, but BitChute was British. So but actually in a way, Peter, it kind of makes the point that when we can't have BitChute anymore, us Brits, and we can't have Gab, even if it is a bit wonky at times. I like Andrew Torber, who owns it, by the way, but some of the stuff is so that means our options are actually fewer, which means we need to have good options. And that is obviously, I thought Gettr was like, it was doing really well during the Jason years. And then was there a bit of an abeyance when Jason dropped away and Elon came back? And everyone including myself, got restored back onto, X. Did that cause Gettr issues, or did it just sail through that period? What's your take?
No, I think it did cause some issues. I think that was a bump in the road, because if you promote yourself as a free speech platform, meaning your other ones are not. So what we know, all the other ones are not. And then and back in the day, Truth Social wasn't there. And it was Gab. Parler was me, Parler 2.0 at that point. Telegram maybe wasn't in its ascendancy where it is now. So you've got a varying range. And for you to say we are a free speech platform, and then Elon Musk comes or is forced to buy Twitter and says, I bought it for free speech. Where is your reason for existing? So I think that probably was a massive roadblock for Gettr. Now, I think a lot of us have come to see X as a great platform and Musk as a free speech proponent, but huge concerns of all the AI, of Neuralink, of especially those, the merging of machine and humanity, big concerns. And I don't think Musk is a conservative figure in any shape or form. So I think his drive is business. His drive is technology to do something new. So with Tesla or SpaceX or the Boring Machine or all of those, it's something new and exciting that hasn't been done before. Twitter was different because he took something that was there, where all the others, it seems he started a new company and built it. So this kind of doesn't fit in with that. And I think a lot of us are concerned of where he fits in. And I mean, maybe some of us thought Trump was hot-headed, and then you get Musk, and it's like, wow, where have you come from? As in going ballistic against and changing within 12 hours. And if someone is so volatile, it's concerning, because maybe tomorrow he may turn against us all and say free speech doesn't exist on X. That's it. I'm finished it. And he could likely do that, because to see a bromance go to hatred in 12 hours, actually, who knows where X could go. So that's the last point on that is actually for live streaming. So difference between we're all content creators now. You put a post up, and someone with 100 followers could put a post up, and that could be picked up by the Telegraph, and that could be in the front page of the newspaper tomorrow. So that can be used. So none of us are small or big, not content creators, just consumers. We're all kind of mixed up in that. And I think that when you think of content going out, some of that is video, as the viewers or listeners or participate in this now. And X lets you stream videos. Gettr lets you stream. Facebook lets you stream. Insta, YouTube. Over on Telegram has a facility, but many others don't. So Gab doesn't let you live stream unless you're paying for the top tier, really. Parler doesn't let you live stream. You pre-record uploads. Truth Social still has restrictions on videos and you can't live stream. So again, some of the things that we have enjoyed doing, David, that how we connect with our audience, Gettr has kind of been there from very early on. So to me, it ticks the box and works. And some of the editing tools it has are fantastic. If you post a picture, you can click on edit and you can do anything with that picture. It is a full editing suite that you get with that photo. Same with a video. You put up a video, you can click edit before you post it, and you've got full editing. And in a live stream, you can clip things when you're doing a live stream. So it's got a lot of great functionality that doesn't really exist anywhere else. So it does what it says on the tin, and that's why I like it. So yeah, just gettr.com. There you go. Get on it. If you were on it and haven't used it, why not? Because if you're posting on X, then why not post on another platform? Build your audience up there, and I think you'll see it as great engagement.
Well, I would agree with a lot of that, Peter. And on the Elon Musk, I'll just go back to Elon for a second. I think that Elon Musk came from a business background into the political world as of July 13th, 2024. And obviously he gave Donald Trump huge assistance in getting into the White House. But I think he then found that, as a lot of people, I come from a business background, I know exactly the transition and what it's, the environment's so different. Let's put it like this. So I could totally understand how Elon Musk would look at the big, beautiful bill and look at the US debt and just go, doesn't make sense. No. Because he's not endemically political, he's going at it from a businessman's point of view. I totally get where Elon was coming from. And I totally get where Donald Trump's coming from, because he's got to get it through. He's got to get those the tax cuts through. Otherwise, the midterms are a nightmare. So I get all of that. And I just think it's like a clash that, yeah, there was no good way for it to end. Elon definitely went over the deep end, and much as I respect him, some of the things he said, it was kind of like, it was a bit cringe, but I think it's against that background of businessman thinks that politics can work on a business level, and it just can't. I could have told him that it's not going to be the same. So he kind of has backed out. Although today, interestingly enough, he sent Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe his best wishes, both guys. So yeah. So I also see comments here. People, Peter, you had mentioned the transhumanism, the Neuralink, and all that, and I see that's a concern that people have. I mean, I have an issue about EVs. I'm not really sold on EVs at all. So a lot of his and as for going to Mars, well, since I don't believe they went to the moon, as you know, I don't. How the hell are they getting to Mars? All my conspiracy theorist friends out there, yes, I've stuck true to that argument. So some of it, yeah, it's weird, but it is a good. I mean, Elon's made so many great changes over on Twitter to X. The monetization of it. So some of it is actually pretty good, pretty nifty. But, and this is the point, Gettr is a very good sort of parallel system and ecosystem to operate within. And again, to go back to one of your points, the people that I've known over the years on Gettr now, over the past 5 years or whatever, like they're decent people. There's very few out and out lunatics over there, which is something I can't say for all other platforms. So it's like a nice environment, and they're nice people, and they do seem to have a real thirst for content.
Oh, they do. And another point, touching on the Elon Musk point, Musk is a businessman, and I saw the announcement, a week ago, the biggest battery storage facility is $550 million. And obviously these huge storage facilities, that's what he's pushing out. But obviously he wants Tesla to sell. He doesn't want BYD or a Chinese company to outsell. And therefore he's got massive commercial interests in China. Gettr don't have that. So you've got a businessman wanting to sell products in China, but wanting to talk about free speech. Those don't really connect together. You have to one or the other. And yet Gettr being very anti the CCP and realizing that Chinese people are very different than Chinese Communist Party, which has only been there since 49, and China's got a 3,500 year history prior to that. So
good point.
It's a little drop in the ocean to the old history of ancient China. But Gettr don't need to make inroads commercially into China where Musk does. And I think that would have been or will be an issue for him. And at some point they will say, look, if you don't want 50% tariffs on a Tesla car sold in China, then you have to let us access people's posts, or you have to ban users, or no criticism of the CCP. So again, there are many aspects to the world of the spread of information. But I think that's another one, this whole battle with censorship in China. And because of that, actually, the Gettr do seem to have the upper hand in that at the moment.
Which is, I take it, America is the biggest Gettr marketplace.
So, yeah, I think from looking at, I think it's probably similar to a lot of other companies, but probably 2/3, 65%, 70%, something like around that, I think, is the US. And I can't remember the breakdown after that, but I know Brazil was always a big one, especially Bolsonaro and all of that, and Jair Bolsonaro, Eduardo Bolsonaro. They're still, I think, the two biggest figures, Brazilian figures on Gettr. And then I think you've got kind of Germany, the UK, France. They're kind of all together next. So although it has a big US, I think obviously it benefits us in the UK because it's in English and therefore it goes over. Where if you're in France or Germany, you're looking for translation. But yeah, I think the US is the biggest market. That probably mirrors other social media platforms.
It does, Peter. One of the platforms that I've invested a fair bit of time trying to grow is on Substack, and with a degree of success. But what an interesting stat that I only came across the other day was Substack's market is massively US. Like it's about 90% US of the total readership. So it's got a global readership, but it's just that's a lot. Like that's really, if you want to crack it, you want to talk about US stuff. Whereas you and I kind of do very similar stuff. We talk about all kinds, and it could be America, could be UK, could be anywhere. Do you know? And so it's nice when you have a platform that's got a bit of a balance, so that the people that are listening. And I find this with the American audience and Gettr, they are very. And they're such a great bunch because they're knowledgeable about the UK. They get a lot of our stuff. I don't know why they can be bothered, but they do, and they seem to like knowing about what's happened over here in two-tier care land.
No, I think we can probably thank Elon Musk for the two-tier care posts, the free Tommy post, the focus on Rupert Lowe and reform. All of that actually has helped us highlight that. There have been times where America's maybe insular, but actually I think there seems to be an openness, and I think politically, because you've got reform that's kind of seen as kind of pro-Trump. Although Nigel is not a Trump figure in any shape or form, but that's a whole show. But then in Europe, when President Trump was there in 2016, the openings were not there in Europe. You didn't have Geert Wilders in charge. You didn't have Marine Le Pen a strong second or winning the last election, really. You didn't have the Swedish Democrats in government. You didn't have the FPÖ winning the election in Austria and being denied. You didn't have you did have Orban. Orban's always been there. He's like an ever-presence.
You didn't have Giorgia Meloni in Italy.
No, with their strange faces. Have you seen those videos?
Yeah, I want to know what she drinks, because if I made faces like that, I don't know, but I quite like her. But yeah, the landscape has dramatically changed.
And AfD in Germany. Sorry, AfD.
Yeah. So the landscape's changed. And so it's good that there's media platforms that we can use to talk about that. especially free of censorship. You mentioned one of my least favorite things about the X platform, and I understand why Elon does it, but if you put links to take you off the site, that's instant death. I mean, the algorithm crushes them. Because I understand Elon wants you living your life on X. I don't want to live my life on any one platform. I like to hop around a bit, and so, but that isn't something that Gettr does. The link works perfectly without the punishment that comes with the algorithm. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it was. And the other day I saw that Epoch Times had streamed their Eric Trump interview.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do that more often now. But again, if you've got Epoch Times link, or if it's Gateway Pundit, or if it's Newsmax, for like the big US ones, or War Room, that they can put an external link, and then you click on that, it will take you outside the platform, and that's what X do not want. They want you to stay on that forever, to doom scroll for all your life.
Yeah.
Where Gettr, for you to click on it and to go out to the website and to read it, that seems fine. And actually, whenever you've got the Gettr news feed on the top right, you go, you read the bit of the story, you click, and it will take you away. So they're happy for that to be done, because they want to put forward that information from good sources. So you don't get downgraded, you don't get critiqued. The algorithms are, I never know exactly what people mean when they say algorithms, but the process of actually downgrading you because you've done something that's not liked by the program. But Gettr don't have that. So yeah, you can post external links, and that's absolutely fine.
Well, I've certainly found that, especially on Substack, where it's a written word, and you're writing titles, and there's stuff that could be a bit edgy, a bit spicy, and sometimes that's a bit scary on X. It's scary on X. It's not. I don't have the same sense of dread, depending on what I've decided to write, and it's all reasonable. But it's just like the written word works on hyperbole. Fundamentally, you attract people with a catchy headline, just like you attract people with a catchy tweet, I suppose. Same idea. But
did anyone respond to your Glastonbury post with the coordinates of Glastonbury? I'm wondering.
Apparently, I've been reported to the police for that one, so I may, which is ironic. But I'm not going to say what I think. I'm not lowering myself to that, But I'm sure Mossad and the IDF are well aware of the coordinates of all places where there are rabid Jew haters. But back to Gettr. So I mean, where do you see the future for Gettr going in, Peter? Where does Gettr go to?
I think it keeps growing. It's had that steady rise. As I said, you haven't had the huge changes. It's been improving, it's been innovating without massive changes, without being pulled and redesigned or new logos. So kind of when you go there, it's there. And I think that will just continue. I think they will go back, and I've certainly been encouraging them, reminding them of 2022, of those events, pub events, music events, sporting events, comedy nights. So many things they did, and no other social media platform does that. It's all online. It's not in person. And when Gettr did that in 2022, it was very different. And I think they're looking at doing those type of things again, being present at events. You can be on Media Row as Gettr, and you can engage with people, but also just doing pop-up events like that and engage with people face to face, and showing the people who you connect with online, actually, if Gettr in the area, they can pull people together. So yeah.
That's exactly the point. That's a brilliant point. That there's so many people that we all connect with, you, me, and a lot of people, and all the folks watching this in the different platforms, and you kind of know each other sort of through this. But when there's events where you physically come into the same room, in the same space, and we've obviously done that loads of time, it's even better. That's one of the things, in actual fact, that I've enjoyed most about the live events that you and I have done together. It's the fact that you bring in people, some of whom are even on this stream, who you move them into the 3D world of actual personable contact, and that's a big thing. That was a big advantage I felt that Gettr did, and it would be good if they do that, Peter, I think, in the time ahead, because that's a space that no other digital platforms really operate. So that's a thing to do for, I would imagine, a very small cost. There'd be a big payback.
I agree, and I've been nudging them and encouraging them, suggesting events, suggesting things they can be involved in. So I think that'll be in the future. And again, with Gettr, you want to keep doing what you're doing well. You want to keep building. You want to attract other people, and you want to innovate. And to me, actually, the in-post editing is something no one else has, but also those events, that's something else you can do. So if you keep innovating and providing things that actually the public want and not just doing it for the sake of doing it, then to me, and who knows, maybe they'll have a whole merch range, or maybe they'll have pop-up events all over. I don't know, but I certainly suggested a number of things to them. So we'll see. Watch this space, and I'm sure if we have a UK Gettr event, I'm sure, David, you'll be at that as well, and talking to people there. So, but that's what it's about, being at one of those events, reporting on the ground, and not just virtually as we always do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I also think, finally, I mean, no one should keep their eggs in one basket. I mean, you know, like I look back to 2020, when I was removed from X, and I did have I had a big following then, you know, and I was such a shock to my system, because I naively didn't expect that. Since then, I've absolutely diversified across the platforms, and I think that's just so healthy to do that anyway. And if you can do that on platforms that are free speech, don't censor you, don't mess about with stuff operating off that platform, then I think that's really healthy and good. And the live streaming functionality I like as well. I mean, one of the things that I should probably do is Gettr exclusive live streams to give people that follow me there something just for them. This is for everybody tonight, you know, but that's fine. But sometimes you maybe want to tailor it a wee bit more. So I mean, there's lots of opportunities there, Peter. So we shall watch the space with Gettr. We shall see what happens to Elon on X. But yeah, I think there's good reasons to have good options. Let's put it like that. And I think certainly Gettr is one. Peter, we're going to have to cut it there for tonight. But thank you so much for being here tonight.
I thought we just started. Seriously.
Well, just getting warmed up. Now let's talk some more about Glastonbury and coordinates, shall we? But yeah. So I think you know, seriously though, having good platforms is critical. And I want to thank everyone who watches me and all of this stuff, and watch you as well, Peter, on our different platforms. But yeah, I think if Gettr can kind of have a second coming here in the UK, that would be quite good, so that we feel a desire to create more and do more stuff. And we'll see what comes along that. Right. That's it from Peter and myself for tonight. Join me tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, with Ben Habib. We're going to get the inside track on Vance UK. And since my name is in it, I'm sort of the owner of it, really. I could almost, the moral owner of this new party, folks, accidentally. So who knew? So check up with Ben and myself tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. But from Peter and myself for tonight, that's it. Good night.